All right, so this is round 4 of recording this video, but this time it's going to be perfect. The sound is going to be good, everything's going to be great. This video, I'm showing a little project that I did about getting the input from an Xbox 360 controller. So step 1 was modeling the controller. Did that in Cinema 4D, and I discovered a small problem with Cinema 4D's FBX export. If you export from Cinema 4D, even if you freeze your transformations, which is something some modelers know to do, and it makes these nice scales 1:1:1 for all these internal objects of my controller. Sometimes if you do that in Cinema 4D and they're zeroed out in the attribute editor there, you export them, they'll get screwed up and they'll be terrible numbers that are completely useless for programming with. So I had to bring this into Maya and zero out everything in Maya to make it work nice and easily. There might be a way to fix it in Cinema 4D, but I searched for like 30 minutes. I couldn't find anything to make it really fixed. So I have my controller model. This is what I did with it. I mapped all of the inputs from my Xbox controller 1:1 onto the controller. I have a little control. If I hold down the left trigger and move the stick, it moves this thing around just so we can get better views. So you can move the sticks, you can press the sticks in, you can press the buttons, pull the triggers a little bit, get the full range of motion, press the shoulder buttons, use the D-pad, start, select. And the other nice thing is we have these little bar graphs, and they have all the names and all the float values of all the different pieces. So that lets you see exactly what your controller is doing and what it's outputting in real time. Hopefully this will be good for when I'm trying to figure out why controls aren't working when I'm making a game. There's a few interesting things I learned about the input thing in the project settings input. So I made all my inputs custom just so I could really figure out what's going on. One very important thing in the inputs, so let's say for the A button, can press the A button and it presses, and you can see the graph go up to 1. This gravity and sensitivity numbers, these are sort of like opposing numbers, and one is for when you press and one is for when you let go. So if I change sensitivity up to 1000, when I press A, it jumps to its max value really fast. It's like it accelerates really quick when I press it. If I turn my gravity down, I'll press it and it goes up really fast, but then it drops down really slow. If I do the opposite, I'll put gravity to 1000, sensitivity 1, I'll press it, it'll go up slow, drop it, goes away instantly. So you can change what your buttons do and how they are animated as simply as just in this input editor. So that's a pretty useful thing to know about, is how these numbers change. And the way that I simulated the controller is that these all the inputs are directly 1:1 from these numbers. There's no in-betweening or anything. It's all just numbers from here. So any smoothing that you see on the controller in its motion, like the way these buttons sort of they smoothly get flattened, that's because of the input manager. So when I'm actually making a game and changing the game feel, I might have to tweak those numbers. Or I'll have to make them really simple, like instead of, I'll just put these to 1000, put gravity, put this to 1000, and now when I press it, it is instant. And then I'll do the smoothing in the control code. That might be a better place to put it and not put it in this inspector thing. Other super important thing is for the sticks. I'm moving my stick, and if I change this dead zone to 0, see, I move the stick, I let go, completely let go, it goes to 0. That's okay. I'm on an LX stick. Move it around, let go, this goes to minus 0.1. It's not 0. Move it around, let go, minus 0.2, not 0. Move it around, let go, 0. Oh, it went to 0 that time. Oh, minus 1.1. That's terrible. It's not 0 at all, but I'm not touching the stick. So if you turn on this dead zone, put it to 0.2, now I can move the stick around. Let go is always going to go to 0. This is very useful for situations like this. I'm moving my thing around, I let go of my stick, and now it's still moving because this is 0.02. That is no good. I'm not touching the stick, but stuff is still moving. So I'll turn up this dead zone, and that is much better. Now, to go into the code, this is where I want feedback, because I did this, and I have no idea if it's the right way. I'll try to explain myself. So, I have my controller input class script. And inside of that, I have, just a moment, okay. So, I have all my code, super nice. First things first are, where do my inputs come from my controller? My inputs go into this public static class, CTRL. I made it public static because I want to access it from anywhere in my game. I want to be able to access the inputs, the raw floats. So here's my public static floats with all the different names. One thing that I figured out is that it's good to write public static float and then all the names separated by commas. I'll move these over, make those nice lined up. Oh, it doesn't let me do that. Oh. No, it's not gonna. Maybe it will let me. No, it won't let me format it like that. It does not like that formatting. But putting the commas here, instead of doing public static float and then the name a million times, means that I can change this from like public to float with one word, and I change all of them at once. That makes it super simple. So public static floats, these are all of the floats where I want the input values to go to. So all I'll need to do to access them from anywhere in the program is go ctrl dot this word, ctrl dot a, and that will give me these numbers. Now to actually get the control numbers from the controller into these floats, I have this public static void update ctrl, and it is simple as lystick equals the input from getAccess lystick. I named these custom in my input editor, so everything is named very customly because that's how I wanted to do it. I'll figure out some more stuff when I want to make it compatible with the keyboard, but for now this is what I have. Now this is how they get updated, but this doesn't get called anywhere. So I have my main class. How this gets called, there might be a better way where to put this, but for now we have my main controller input class. This is a class that does all the simulation and the graph stuff, pretty much does everything that you see in the scene. So we have my first things first, this in the void update, I have my control.update control, and this is where every frame all the floats get sent from the controller, my real controller, into all of these nice floats that you can access from anywhere because it's this public static thing. And there'll never be more than one. There's just one place. Very nice. So now I have the data. I need to apply it to the model. So first I wanted to get all of the pieces of the model separately, so I made a bunch of game objects with names for all the different pieces. And for some of those pieces I needed their initial position, so I stored that in a vector 3. So here's the initialization of these different variables. And then at the start I needed to actually connect my variables to the game objects in the scene. So I just used a find. Perhaps there's a better way to do this. I liked that it was automatic. I don't know if there's a better way. If you know a better way to do this part, I'd be interested to know it. And then I also took the initial positions and stored them for later use, so that I could always move something and put it back to where it started. That was super useful for things like the buttons, where I'd press the button, it would move, and then I want to put it back where it started. So there's the initialization, and then we go to update. So first we get the inputs, the new inputs from the controller, and then I have all these functions that simulate things like the stick tilting. So that's the object name, and then the range of tilt, and then the input from the controllers. So all I need to do to get input is write CTRL to capital C, because that's the class name and it's not a variable name. So the class.lxStick gives me the left stick's x-axis. And then I have one for button press. There's all these different things. And these are how much it moves and how much it gets squished, so that it looks nice and animated. And we have someone for the stick, another stick tilt for the D-pad. D-pad is interesting. I noticed that its input is really binary. Maybe I have it set up wrong, but I don't. I have it on these very low gravity, low sensitivity, but it is not an analog control. So when you press it, it sort of snaps around. You can really see the numbers snap. It's not an analog thing, just snaps around. And then I have my button press. So I have a bunch of the functions down here. I was writing them all out individually, wrote a big thing out for the left stick and for the right stick, and then I was like, no, you did the same thing twice. Make it into a function. So I did. So everything here is a nice function. And then we have the onGUI, and this is where the inputs are made into a nice graph so you can see what's going on. And for this section, I used a really weird thing that required the using system.reflection to be put in here. I don't really know what this is, but this did what I want, so I used it. If you can tell me why I shouldn't use it or what the problems with it are, please let me know. Maybe it's just good for debugging or for development. What it let me do was I could take my control class, my static control class, and it would go in there and get all the fields. So all of these fields, and it would go through them one by one. So for all of the fields in my control class, it would draw a box with the size this. It would take the number from the field that I'm working on and use that to change the size of the box. And then it would take that field's name, and it would put a little enter in, and then it would take the field's value and type that in, so that it automatically takes this name and this number and the value and draws this little graph. So I didn't have to type in all of these names up here or really connect up all these things. I just told it to get all the fields from here, all those, and iterate through them and make a bunch of boxes and write the numbers in them. This took me way too long to figure out, and I still don't know what all of these words mean or if this is the best way to do it, but it works, so I'm keeping it. But if anyone can explain more about what's going on to me, I would be very interested. So that is that. That is my one-to-one controller simulator for one Xbox controller. At some point I'm going to have to figure out how to control this with a mouse and keyboard maybe, or maybe I'll do one for a mouse and keyboard. That could be sort of funny. But for now, that's it.